Pas moyen donc l'eau, c'est la mer. Il faut se tromper là-bas, continuer à se passer dans l'histoire. C'est la mer aujourd'hui, l'eau de la population kenyane, trop c'est trop. Donc, trop c'est trop. Le moment là,
Hello there, and a very warm welcome to you from wherever you're watching us from. This is AfriRise. AfriRise is your go-to channel on matters African economics, African geopolitics, and everything that's happening in between. And kindly, if you've not subscribed to our channel, kindly take a moment and subscribe. Help us to reach 1,000 subscribers. And today we have a very interesting video from the tough situation that we're seeing in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. And just 2 nights ago, the city of Goma was taken over by the M23 rebels who are affiliated to the Rwandan government. And this comes at the backdrop of the defeat of the DRC military, owing to the fact that they are not well remunerated as well as provided facilities and weapons for war. And this is a tough situation as very many people in their millions and hundreds of thousands have been displaced from Goma. The total number of people displaced in the last 20 years is nearly 7 million people. And this includes women and children who only knew Goma as their home. They now have been displaced to go and settle up in camps in different faraway places that they've never been, and they do not have sustainable living conditions such as shelter and food. They're relying on aid from external forces. And looking at the situation we're seeing in DRC, there are a few factors that have let this situation slip and get this far. And first off is the Rwandan government support for the M23 rebels. The Rwandan government has, over time, denied their involvement in the war in DRC, but reports from the United Nations and other non-governmental agencies have indicated that Rwanda has high involvement in the funding and orchestration of the war in Eastern DRC. And this is where the issue lies. You see, the area around Lake Kivu in Eastern DRC is enriched with a lot of minerals, ranging from gold, cobalt, and even coltan. And these minerals are very high value for processing countries, most of which are not African. But these countries use other countries such as Rwanda to gain foot and take advantage of the minerals in Eastern DRC. And I'm saying this because a report that was generated in 2003 after the South African Mandela-led talks were held in Pretoria, they came to an agreement that without the interference of the Rwandan government, peace could be sustained and even protected for the people of Eastern DRC. But this did not last long, as 10 years later in 2013, The M23, despite having an agreement with the Democratic Republic of Congo government, took back arms and went back into fighting with the Congolese military. The Kenyan president, who is also the chairman of the East African Community, says that the situation in Eastern DRC is past the military intervention stage and can only be solved through dialogue and a consensus between the two fighting forces. For me, this is a high level of hypocrisy being shown by the Kenyan president because he truly understands why Eastern DRC has slipped this far. They know, and even with the East African deployment forces who were there in 2023, this is high level hypocrisy play by the Kenyan president as he understands why the East African rapid deployment forces failed in DRC and the situation and the events that have led to the failure of the Southern African Development Community forces as well. In a tweet he posted last night, the president of Kenya said that he had held talks with the president of France and discussed the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and that they had agreed that for mutual benefit of the two parties, dialogue was the best route to go. This is an African president discussing the problems of another African country with a European president who benefits directly or otherwise in the war in DRC. And remember, diplomacy between the Democratic Republic of Congo and France has failed over the years. And now this is crippling back to affect even the relationship between the DRC and neighboring countries. Today, protesters stormed the embassies of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and South Africa in Kinshasa, and even burned some of the embassies down. This is because they see Kenya and these other countries as collaborators of the Western forces who are indirectly orchestrating the war in Eastern DRC. Even as leaders and governments call for dialogue between DRC and the rebels, it is very important for Rwanda to first of all withdraw and not take sides in the war in DRC. From the look of things, the M23 rebels are very well equipped and have modern weapons in this, and that's why they are winning against the DRC military. I personally believe that for a sustainable solution to be found in this region, Rwanda has to be called for who they have been and what they have turned Eastern DRC to be. Because by bringing in their troops into a foreign country, they are undermining the sovereignty of the Congolese people. And this is why we are seeing a very high influx of Congolese in all Eastern African countries. People are being thrown out of their country and being forced to seek refuge elsewhere just because the interests of foreign countries are being orchestrated by a neighboring country. I personally believe that for a sustainable solution and a long-standing one to be found in the situation in DRC, Rwanda has to be called for what they have become, orchestrating violence on innocent people, guarding the interests of foreign countries is not what an African country should do to their neighbors. And for this to be achieved, most African countries, and actually all African countries, need to put their interests aside and look at the situation of 6 million people who have been displaced over the years against the interests of the Western countries. President Kagame should be called out and told to effectively withdraw his forces immediately from Goma and Eastern DRC entirely, as well as the leaders of the talks, including the Kenyan president. They have to face the situation of Congo with an unpartisan objective and put the people of Congo and put the people of Congo and Goma first in every decision they take. Let us not revolve around the same situation, just trying and hiding from each other when we know where the true problem lies. Let us stop funding the M23. Just stop giving weapons. Just stop giving artillery and instruments of war to M23 and everything will be solved. And to me, this is a war not just against imperialism amongst African countries. This is a war against neocolonialism, which has gained foot in the African continent. Minerals, crops, everything that we do as an economic activity ends up, finally, it ends up assisting, and the money generated ends up in the pockets and in the accounts of European and American nations. Let us all pray for the situation of the people in Goma and Eastern DRC in general to at least be easy, and let's hope our leaders really say the true light and put the people of Eastern DRC first. And leave me your thoughts down in the comments and let's keep the conversation going.